Yes, what's going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. We're here with positive news. As you can see from the title, 4 Palace players make the final England squad, and also some very interesting names we mentioned as potential incomings and more. As always, we'll be answering your questions towards the end of the show, so make sure to let us know by put a Q and a dot in the live chat, and we'll pin them and answer them as well. As always, if you enjoy it, like, subscribe, people. Thank you so much for your continuous support. Joined by T here. T, we're reaching a weekend, and I'll be honest, looking good so far. Apart from the announcement, we haven't had our announcement yet. One of those players, either Riyadh or Kamada, but it's looking good. It's looking good. Sporting Palace.
It's looking real good, man. It's looking real good. Before we start, let me just get my little wagwan, bro. You know?
Wagwan. If you're gonna say that, I'll say, what was it again? What do you not say? You don't say hello. You say,
"What's good, bro?"
Nah, you don't say that as well. What's the Texas way of saying hello?
Texas?
Yeah.
Howdy.
Yeah. Howdy, brother. Let's get the show started.
Hey there, oh there.
I don't know why I thought Texas. America's big. So I need to cover one side of each show. Each show that we do, I cover one side. But team, man, Palace is funny because it's not only just Palace fans. A lot of people are talking about Palace, all for the right reasons.
I mean, we literally have the most players on the Euro squad. Like, who would have thought?
Exactly. And let's get started with that. So Crystal Palace, as I've mentioned at the start of the show, as you can also see from the title, have got 4 players in the Euro squad. It has been announced today that all 4 players that were in the provisional squad are going to Germany for the Euros. And that those players are, of course, Eze, Wharton, Henderson, and also Guehi. I was thinking I forgot Guehi. There's so many. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with them. But look, all jokes aside, it is special for the football club, for the players to have the most players represented in this England squad coming from Crystal Palace. It is very special and very exciting times. And, it's not just their Crystal Palace players, but they're very good players. They're very good players that maybe we didn't see. So for some of them, continuous game time because of injuries and also, but finally, these players are getting the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, and another thing that I'm just now thinking about is such a credit to Palace and to the quality of our players. We have a player at every single level. We have a goalkeeper, we have a defender, we have a true midfielder, and we have a guy that's more of an attacking. So, like, you've got quality players from our squad at different levels. You know what I'm saying, of the pitch, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's some interesting names that's been left out of the England squad. James Maddison. So Eze was ahead of Maddison. Brandwaite, which I was very surprised about, to be fair. I would have took him over Lewis Dunk. I'm not just saying that because Lewis Dunk plays for Brighton and all the other things. But, the Palace players managed to survive it all. How many of these players do you reckon are going to be starters or have significant impact in this England team in the Euros?
I would say.
And let's learn in chat as well, by the way. Get involved. Even if you're watching a replay, how many of these players do you reckon are going to have significant impact in the Euros? If any?
I would say 2 to 3. I would say 2 to 3. Because I feel like Guehi's definitely going to have an impact because I think he's going to be a starter. Like, I think out of all of them, he's probably the one that's like,
Maguire's out,
odds on to be a starter. But then when you talk about impact, also, even if Eze and Wharton don't start, if and when they get on the pitch, they're going to have an impact. They're those type of guys. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if 3 out of the 4 really made impacts out there for the team.
Yeah, I think Guehi is going to be the starter.
Yeah,
out of all of those players, I think Eze will probably be an impact sub, and Wilson, I've got a big question mark because I think he's fantastic. I think he's good enough to start for this England squad. Question of whether Southgate would start him, but in order in terms of significance, and I think Henderson is bottom of that list unless injuries happen. Of course, he's not going to be starting in goal. I think he goes Guehi, Guehi, realistically, I think Guehi, Wharton, Eze, and Henderson in terms of significant minutes potentially playing.
Okay.
I do think in terms of creative roles, Eze can offer something very differently. He's a raw player. Like he will just get on the ball, dribble past players, and it's exciting to watch. I think Wharton is something special, and I think
Yeah.
Wharton could potentially get more minutes than Eze in this tournament. But look, people are saying Wharton will probably be a sub, and we got one saying Wharton starts, so it's not straightforward. So yeah, let's see. And here's the Leeds fan, as always, complaining down in Championship. Take all Palace players load of crap. He's always on going on to Palace, but here we are. Dan saying it's a chance for Guehi to make us some good money now. Whew, that's an interesting perspective.
But one that could be true.
As well. I've stood by that. I stood by that thought as well. That the Euros is going to be massive, especially if he's not signing a new contract. And this is a chance for him to prove himself, especially without Maguire being there. I think there's a serious chance that Guehi is a regular starter for England.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, I felt that way prior to now, just off his quality, but I think he's definitely got a chance to show it now, for sure.
What about Mitchell? There's a comment here as well about Tyreek Mitchell. Well, there was a comment, but there's loads of comments coming through, so I just can't see it right now. Just keep sending in your comments. Don't worry, I'm reading them out. He wasn't in a provisional, not in the final squad. Do you think there should be 5 England players? I mean, we spoke about this before when the provisional was announced, but now that the final squad is here, I'm very happy with 4. But 5, realistically, should have been 5?
Personally, I think he should at least make the provisional squads, in particular, just because of the lack thereof when it comes to quality left backs that are available. Luke Shaw making the team is still a big question mark because everybody knows that he's dealing with injury. So maybe they're just hoping that he can come good at some point during the Euros to where he can make his way back and actually play. But, I definitely think Ty is good enough to have made that provisional. Yeah.
I thought, well, the provisional is done, the final squad is done as well. What's the reason then, do you think?
I think it's just preference. I think it's just truly naturally managers have the guys that they would prefer to have make the team, and I think that for whatever reason, Southgate feels like a guy like Kieran Trippier is effective enough to play left back better than Tyreek Mitchell could. I mean, that's the only thing I can really think of. It's just that he's got a group of guys that he feels like he can run out there in those positions that are better than Ty.
Yeah. Look, if you have a question, just like Palace 1439, just put a Q and a dot before it, and we'll answer them towards the end of the show. But this one, as it was relative, for as well, put it out on the screen. But there are some questions that's been coming through. Don't worry, we'll answer them as always. But look, it's exciting times. I'm excited. I normally be disappointed with the Euros because of Turkey. After 1 or 2 games, we're basically out. But genuinely, I'm looking forward to looking at watching all England games with that many Palace players there. I've said it all along. I think England should have won a major tournament, and I'm very surprised that they haven't. Then again, I think it's Southgate tax. That England squad is very stacked. It is stacked. It has been. It has been for a while. And yeah, I just don't know how. There's no major trophies yet, but let's see in this tournament with all that quality that you have. But look, Palace doing what we're doing best. Hats off, to Dougie Friedman as well.
Absolutely. This is very much a big part because, I mean, and some people can look at it in past terms too. You got Conor Gallagher that's become a mainstay in this England squad, and that didn't happen until when, D?
Yeah, until he was at Palace. I mean, he was at West Brom playing in the Premier League as well. A lot of people forget about that.
So you could say we got 5 right now, almost. You know what I'm saying? Like products of, So there's actually this question from Ryan, which kind of like dovetails into what we're saying. Does this exposure encourage more players from the Championship to come to Palace? And To answer, I think the easiest answer to that is yes, Ryan, because the proof is in the pudding.
Not even just that. I mean, look at. I think this 100% helps, but you just look at the success of some of these players that's come from a championship to Palace. Elise, he's not in an England squad, but if you're a player, you look at Elise's situation, Eze, Guehi, Wharton, all of these players. You look at what we've done. I think Palace have that unique selling point when we go to championship clubs and when we're interested in a player. And let's say there's a few other clubs interested. Well, Palace sticks out because Palace, what we do is successful. Our model of developing these players are successful. Literally, look at Adam Wharton. Fantastic. Not just Wharton, Eze. Eze should have been, in the last Euros as well before he picked up the injury. A lot of people forget about that.
He was going to be.
About that. Eze was, meant to go to the Euros. So all of this with Palace, I think it only helps us as well. It helps the players. It helps us. These players can be successful at Palace. But next year, as I've said it for a very long time, we need to try and push on. We need to try and push on because these players are good enough to be playing in these tournaments, good enough to be playing for these top six clubs. And we need to back them in the transfer window. We need to make sure we solve all the depth issues and look up the table. Look up the table because this squad last year, even though we finished top 10 for the majority of the season, we massively underachieved because we just didn't get the best out of these players. Absolutely. And now we're seeing how good they can be. Whereas all of us knew that, these are quality players. So we have to show the ambition. And I think the club are doing that. And I think the club do realize that. Of course, there hasn't been any official announcements, but we're looking at about 2 signings to be announced hopefully relatively soon. There isn't any rush because the window's technically not even open yet.
Right, not till next Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So there isn't a rush. But this is, in terms of people asking, this is the most Palace players have been represented in England squad. So yeah, special times for special players as well. But now let's move on to the transfer news. As always, we're here to cover all the latest from the day, and there were a few transfer news. And today there's an exciting one coming from the Palace ways that Antonio Nusa, the Crystal Palace, are interested in the Club Brugge 19-year-old winger, who also had a lot of interest from Brentford in January. Around £30 million deal, which collapsed due to medical. He was meant to join Brentford, but he's on Palace's radar as well. But the interesting thing about this report is that a permanent deal for Antonio Nusa would depend on an outgoing from Selhurst Park. But that outgoing, it doesn't necessarily have to be Eze or Elise. It could be Mark Guehi as well. Look, ideally, one day when Eze Elise leave, you were going to have to replace them. But you want to try bringing that replacement a bit earlier. Why, you ask me? Because of the fee. When you sell Eze Elise for 60 million plus, teams will know that. And all of a sudden, price tags go up. So you want to find that replacement a bit earlier. Nusa, I'm pretty sure this is a player that you've rated as well. He was meant to join Brentford. What's your thoughts on him being on the shortlist with the likes of Somerville?
Makes sense. For those of you who don't know, Antonio Nusa is a baller, like flat out baller. And I know why Brentford was trying to drop that money for him last year. He's only 19, but he is already a multi-time capped Norway international player as well. It's I can understand. I mean, I see why that he's the right profile that you would want to come in and replace somebody like Eze for sure. Right. And like you said, I think the question is not necessarily Eze leaving right now is the reason for him coming in, but having a big move out, meaning that we have more money to spend, and him coming in could possibly be a thing. Sounds like it's going to be the money, the amount of pounds would be similar to last year's amount with what they were trying to get from Brentford, which is around 31 million. But great player, man. I think there are definitely going to be cheaper options than him. I think Somerville will cost less. I think somebody like Philogene would be less. But I think Philogene will be more of a Elise replacement because he's left-footed. But so there are definitely cheaper players out there, not to mention the fact that we already have França. But, yeah, man, he's a serious player, though, man.
So are you surprised about the price tag? Because we spoke about this before. You have mentioned that you don't really see the club going for £30 million player as a replacement. Do you think that, based on this report, that we might go down that route still?
I don't know. I would be surprised if we did. I would, especially because of the fact that we're going down that road, spending
Why
that
would you be
type of
surprised, by the
money.
way, for people who don't get it?
The reason why I'll be surprised is for us. Number one, I would be surprised that we would spend that much on a player, but I would be even more surprised in this situation that we would spend that much on a player in the same position as that we have filled in that situation. You know what I mean? To bring in a $31 million player to slide in behind an Eze right now when we could be using that money in other places. I think that may have a little bit more depth needs. That was be the reason why it would surprise me.
Yeah, look, I think if you sell a player for about 60 to 65 million pounds, you still, I mean, even if you do spend that 30 million pound on a player, I get the strategy of trying to develop these players on, but you have to also be careful as well. You don't want to always go with the cheaper route. I think if you have 60 million pounds to spend and you spend 30 million pound on one player and then maybe sign a few other players from maybe 10, 15 million pound that might have high potential, it can still work out. I think you can do a combination of both. So interesting that two of the players that we've been linked with as Eze and Elise's replacement so far, both of them are not cheap options. They're not the cheap 10 to 50 million pound options. It seems like so far from what we're gathering from all these sources is that the club might be willing to spend that money, not all of it on one player, such as a 60 million pound player, but a good amount of it on finding a replacement rather than going with the cheaper, maybe risky option that has worked out in the past. So yeah. Also, this is a very good question, Samuel. Was what did Nusa fail the medical at Brentford for? I'm not too sure.
It was his knee. It was his knee.
See, I don't know if that would be a problem for Palace. It's weird. Failing a medical, you don't really see it that often. But
they said it. So I was reading. So technically, he didn't fail the medical. It was just that he was flagged for something within the medical, and at that point, Brentford decided, "Hey, we don't want to move forward with it." So he technically didn't fail the medical because obviously he is healthy enough to be playing for his club. Like he was playing at the time, and then he's able to play, but they scrapped the deal because of flags within the medical. So
yeah, of course we'll do our due diligence on the player as well. If we will have our medical as well. But yeah, another interesting part of the story is the fact that it's a significant player rather than an Eze Elise leaving, and that significant player, as I've mentioned before, could be Guehi. So, if we saw Guehi for like 60 million plus, maybe don't be surprised if that money goes on a winger in time for an Eze and Elise. I'm not saying that they will leave this window, but in the future, if they do leave, bringing that replacement a bit earlier, don't get overcharged when they do eventually leave. So that's a very important part of that story. But look, let's see. Somerville, Nusa, these players are exciting. So we're heading in the right direction for these replacements. And it's good to have, a short list, which it seems like from the outside looking in that the club are doing, just in case, some of these players do leave.
Seems like we definitely have a plan, which is a good thing to know.
Exactly. And that's not a surprise to me, especially with how good Dougie's been. Like, you can't be that good without having a plan. Let's move on to the final bit of transfer news, and then we're going to go through questions. So if you have any questions, put a Q and a dot before them. It's from the Footy Insider, and it's saying that Everton, West Ham, Palace are chasing Bosnia midfielder Armin Gigovic following his impressive display against England. This one I left to last because it just... it just feels like too convenient. Always had a good display against England. We're following him, type of thing, rather than anything seriously. That's what I'm getting from it.
I figure probably what it is maybe he may have been on a scouting list, one of our scouting lists or something like that, and we finally got a chance to see him in person up against some quality opponents, and they probably were a little bit impressed by him. So maybe he garners a little bit more attention now from the clubs, but I don't see us doing too much right now as far as moving for a central midfielder. To be
That's
honest,
not really, especially with Kamada coming in as well.
Exactly, it's not it's definitely not on the highest level of need for us. I mean, one of the main things that we've been talking about through the entirety of the offseason to this point is most of the additions that we're having right now are additions for depth. And central midfield is actually one of the places that we have the best depth currently without making moves.
It's because of the two in midfield.
Yep.
To be fair,
Yep.
Once you have, for me, it's going to be Decore and Wharton. It was crazy seeing claims that that Decore will be playing on the bench. People are forgetting how good Decore are. I was so shocked. I'm like, his stock is at all-time low. If you want to make money, you invest in Decore stocks. If you think he's going to be playing on the bench next year for Crystal Palace, like remember
how quickly people forget. How quickly they forget the quality. These are the same people that were drooling over Decore when he was out there making plays, and that was without a guy like Wharton next to him. How dare you forget this man's quality? How dare you?
Yeah, there is. I find it baffling because I think Decore 100% starts for the side when he's fit, and he should be fit. We didn't risk him towards the end of the season. Glasner said that. So he had that period. He's had the off season. He's gonna have a preseason. So for the first game of the season, Decore should be ready. I mean, he's gonna be playing games. He's gonna be building up his match fitness. So
and he's not playing internationally. He's not gonna go
so
play internationally with Mali right now. So
yeah, he'll be back and he should be a starter next season. I'll be very surprised if he's not a starter because he's very good. It is very good, and I'm genuinely very excited about both of them to play in midfield. But hey, let's see what happens. Maybe he does sit on the bench. But yeah, Liverpool even wanted him as well. I know we forget because he's been out for a while, but
I know, man, how quickly people forget, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. Decore and Wharton playing the ball into Mateta, Eze, and Elise is scary. It is. Even I'm scared. I'm on the same team.
Times.
I'm
scary
scared.
times.
I'm scared for the other team. It's both of them, not even just the balls forward. I think how press resistant they are, how comfortable they are on the ball. I think,
and people forget that Decore has a long range wand on him. We haven't really gotten to see it since he's been in Palace, but he's been known to rope some unbelievable long shot for goals during his time when he was with Lons.
Yeah. Mitch saying, I would admit there is a slight question about how Decore's game will be different in front of a free centre-back system since he has always first to tuck into the midfield of the two. Do you agree with that? Do you think he might struggle with the two?
No, not at all. We're talking about a guy, we just literally talking about his passing ability, his press resistance. What struggle would he have? He's unbelievable with his positioning. He has incredible awareness. I don't see the only issue he would truly have is maybe that the final third attacking pieces, but we don't need that from him as much. Like I think he's going to do great, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think he will be as well.
Because he's played in the midfield too before. He played in the midfield too at Lons with Fofana.
Yeah, exactly. He's played it before, and you know he done well. He done well there, so I don't have any problem.
That man covered every blade of grass by himself when he was with us before. He's got help stepping into this team.
Yeah, he's got Wharton next to him. That's what excites me the most. He's got Adam Wharton next to him. Adam Wharton is going to be playing for England. I'm actually proud of him, man.
England international.
Adam Wharton. Damn, like imagine being in issues. I'm actually so happy for him. Like where he was about 6 months ago to now. It's crazy. It's crazy. His projection is just literally flew out the window. Now let's move on to the questions, people. If you do want to check out the news, just go to the start of the show where we talk about all the latest news, including a few incoming transfer reports, as well as the England players, the Palace England players, the club that's representing the most England players for England, of course, in this tournament. We discuss that as well. So make sure to check that out. Now let's get into the questions as we always do towards the end of the show. Ron saying, do you think Wharton and Eze will get any minutes on the pitch at the Euros? For me, I don't know exactly how many minutes because I'm not psychic. I think Wharton will get more minutes than Eze. That's my feeling. But we spoke about it already. T, you think Eze will get more than Wharton, or?
I think they could be close to even. They could be close to even. I think, and the reason for that is because they have some pretty quality players that are also playing in the same positions as them. So they may not see a lot of minutes, but I think they'll find their way onto the pitch a decent amount.
Yeah, look, it's still great. I mean, for Wharton to even be in the England squad, considering how quickly he's come up, like he deserves it, but
Yeah.
could have easily been dismissed as well as excuses saying, "Oh, he just come to the Premier League. He's still young. Let's give him the next tournament and stuff." But he's in England squad and he deserves it. 100%
Yep.
deserves it. So
Yep.
hopefully he gets some minutes as well. But I'm not as worried about him. And Eze is another player that's been on Southgate's radar for a while. Let's not forget that he was meant to be in the previous Euros tournament and then he picked
Right.
up
This could have been his second one.
Exactly. So both of them are rated by Southgate, which is good to know. So let's see what actually happens with them two. Palace 1439 saying, does Wharton start alongside Rice? Let's see what happens tomorrow because England, I believe, have a friendly tomorrow, right?
Yes.
They're playing tomorrow. So let's see what actually happens.
Part of me feels like Southgate's going to start Trent Alexander-Arnold next to him. I don't know why.
You could, yeah. Yeah, he could. I mean, that'd be typical Southgate. But I reckon tomorrow's team should give us a good reflection of who's actually going to be starting. Surely, with it being the last friendly, surely it should be the team that's going to be starting the tournament. So, yeah, let's see what actually happens tomorrow in regards to that. Earth saying, is this the first time Palace have had 4 players in the England team at the same time? Yes, it is. It is the first time.
What's the most they've had prior to now?
There was another tournament. They were talking about this on TalkSport as well. There was another tournament where there was quite a few, but it wasn't quite the Euros. I think the most we've technically had is
or in any England team, should I say?
Was it 1 or 2 around that? But if you know in the chat, let us know. But I saw around 1 or 2, I'm pretty sure. But then there was another tournament with a few Palace players, but it was not a major tournament, I don't think. But you don't quote me on that. But yeah, it is the first time though that Palace have had 4 players in the England team at the same time. That is in a major tournament. Yeah, that
in
is
matches. So the 4. So it says the 4 matches, the summer tour.
Here we go. 94. Yeah, 94. It was not a major tournament. That's
Nigel Martin, Jeff Thomas, John Salako, and Ian Wright.
Yeah. It's not a major tournament.
No, it wasn't a major tournament.
And I wasn't alive then as well. So yeah, I don't know. But that's why I heard
it doesn't exist. If you want to live, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't get to witness it, but it was not. Yeah. So yeah, this is in a major tournament. Yeah, this is the first time that this has happened. Let's move on to the next question. And this question, to be fair, we could have kind of included it in the news, but it's not quite Palace news. Nick saying Blitz are rumored to be selling Augsburg shares. Could this be to buy Texter out? Now, let's quickly talk about this. I think reported around 120 million euros. Was it euros or pounds? I
want to say it was euros because that's what
euros.
I think. Yeah, it should be euros.
I think around 120 million euros.
128 or something like that.
Could they be buying out Texter? I mean, he seems a bit convenient. Over there and use that money to buy out more Premier League shares.
And the other reason why it makes sense is because maybe if I'm Blitzer, is like, yeah, I want to buy those shares, but I don't want to use unused investment money to do it. So I see the potential in Palace and where it's going. Maybe I just, take what I got over here and buy over here. So he's moving money rather than investing new money.
Exactly. And it makes sense to move money to Palace, especially with the opportunity now to buy a majority. They're happy working with Parish. So even if they have majority, they can keep Parish there. It's Blitzer and Harris and Parish. It seems like it rhymes and it works. So let's see. I think that's one to watch. It wasn't technically Palace news, but it is relevant.
Palace adjacent.
Yeah, Palace adjacent news. Exactly. Older Bear saying, is football coming home to Palace or England? It's coming to Palace. If West Ham won the World Cup, then Palace will win in the Euros. If England do win the Euros, of course. Based on that logic. So yeah, it is coming to Palace. Callum saying, if Johnston leaves, who would you want to be backup at a club team?
Now, this is the thing. I'm not as good with goalies. But the one that I've heard multiple times from people on Twitter is Muric. Is it Murkic or Muric? From Burnley.
Okay, yeah. I've seen him as well. He's a backup. Well, he was a backup. Did he play?
He played.
He played a bit because Trafford was dropped.
Yeah. So he was the one that I've seen mentioned. I mean, I couldn't tell you on goalies, man. I don't do enough goalie research. I'll get back to you on that one.
Let's see. No one internally?
Internally, I mean,
Goodman. You've been high on Goodman.
I told you I feel the way about Goodman the way that you feel about Danny Emre. So I will be okay with him coming in and being a backup. I believe in him that much, but I get it if they want to maybe give him another year of a loan at a higher level than where he's been.
Yeah. Look, we'll see if Johnson does leave, but I think he will. Palace 1439 saying Guehi's value is only going up because of the Euros. 2 years left on his contract. What is he worth? Surely more than £60 million. I think minimum 60. After the Euros, potentially 70 to 80 at least. That's my target. And if we can get that for Guehi, that's fantastic. That's a good amount of money to reinvest back into the squad for this summer, especially with depth and quality. And we don't need stars. Like, we just need depth. Like, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. How much do you think he might be worth after Euros?
80 to 90.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, once again, Harry Maguire from Leicester City was 80. Like, I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Like, people drop the bag for center backs, and Mark Guehi is checking all the boxes.
I'm always cheap when it comes to prices. I've realized this. I always go in the lower end rather than higher end. I'm just thinking about like the worst case scenario. Like, I think 70 million at least is still very good money. Like £70 million would be ridiculous.
I think part of it is just us as Palace fans. We're not used to selling guys for this type of money. You know what I mean? So
yeah. But it also depends on if he has a good tournament, how good of a tournament he has, the press around him, the PR, because the media hype matters as well. But you know, when you're playing for England, you're gonna always get a hype. So I'm not really worried about that. It just depends on how good of a tournament he has, which I think he'll have a good tournament. So I'm not really worried about that. Trundle saying thoughts on Ezerima to see for £90 million. I have not seen that. So yeah, I don't think there is that rumor. If there is, it's not really a reliable one. David saying, do you think the England exposure will work against us like it did in the 90s? Work against us? In what terms would it work against us? Because
that's a good question. Yeah, how does it? Work against us?
Exactly. What do you mean by that? Just let us know in the chat, and then we can answer that a bit more. But maybe he means in terms of, you know, some of these players, because of how well they play, it can hurt us in terms of keeping.
So now let me just give you some figures on transfer amounts for center backs over the past 4 or 5 years. Harry Maguire still stands at the most expensive at £87 million, 87 million euros. Vardiol went to Man City for £77 million. Matthias de Ligt for £77 million. Virgil van Dijk was £76 million from Southampton. Fofana to Chelsea was £75 million. Lucas Hernandez £72 million. Oh yeah, man! Like, I'm sorry, Matthias de Ligt was in there twice. De Ligt was $60 million when he went from Juventus to Bayern.
Yeah. So I think at least 70 to 80 at least. After Euros,
like
even before the Euros, I think.
As I said before, looking at these players, these where they're coming from, where they're going, I would say he's between 70 and 80 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna get good money for Guehi when he does leave. Let's just see when that will be. But yeah, just David is basically talking about unsettling players. Could they, players be unsettled? All the whispers in the ears of other clubs. I think it's a bit different from the 90s. Of course, I wasn't alive in the 90s, but just football in general, I think it's changed a lot, even from 2010 to now. I think the bridge between the top clubs and clubs like Palace is the gap has become a bit smaller. So it's not a case of, you have to play for a top 6 club to play for England, to play this, to play that.
We've literally debunked that myth.
Yeah.
We literally debunked that myth with this Euro squad. Like,
yeah. But he's saying, could this Euro squad, let's say if they play good and all these clubs are interested, do you think that could
the thing is, all these clubs were interested before. Like Bayern was interested in Wharton before he got selected.
Yeah.
Has had the ear of some of the top clubs before he got selected.
Yeah, Eze's always had it. Yeah,
Guehi too.
He's not in the squad,
So I don't think it changes much. I don't think it changes much because they were already getting that type of attention.
Yeah. I think we're in a good place. I'm not really worried about any of that. About players unsettling or so. I think we should be fine. If they're going to leave, they'll leave. I don't think any of them wouldn't want to play for Palace. And there's a lot of these big clubs that have lots of question marks around them, like Chelsea, United. There's lots of question marks around them. So I'm not as worried in regards to that. James saying with all the Palace players selected, will T be watching supporting England in the Euros?
Yes.
You'll be watching. Yeah.
Yes, I'll be supporting England. I'll be supporting England. I mean, it kind of makes sense for me,
Exactly. Yeah.
They won't be playing the US. At least the people there speak the same language as me.
Oh, so. Yeah. The geography, exactly. Based on geography, they will never be playing the US unless something drastic happens.
I mean, unless it's the World Cup. Yeah, unless it's the World Cup. Only time you see that
the Euros, they will never be playing the US. Exactly.
Yeah, so I think looking at all the teams, man, I mean, I think I have the most connection to England squad because of all my Palace guys. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. Chalice 3005 says, who deserved the Palace captaincy because Guehi rejected the captaincy twice since he came back? I don't think he rejected it.
He didn't reject it. He just didn't make Joachim Anderson take the band off when he checked into the match. But he captained the squad when he started.
I think that's out of respect as well. Like,
that's just respect for the guy. That's
if it's not Guehi, I think it'll be Anderson. So I think that's where it is right now, which is funny to me because if you look at the season as a whole, I think Anderson had a very long season in terms of arguments with fans, frustration or so. But now he just seems like he's just built as captain material under Glasner. So his whole narrative is just flipped. So that was scary.
I mean, part of it is like too, he's not afraid. Like the thing that makes him a great leader is the fact that he's not afraid to stand up. You know what I'm saying? Like those arguments that you have with fans is not the fact that you're upset with the fans, but the fact that you're not willing to back down and you're willing to address them. And you know what I'm saying? Like I kind of admire that about him. The fact that he's not that he will speak his piece even to disgruntled fans. You know what I mean?
Dan's saying, I think this is about Guehi. I'd value him £65 million with the expiring contract in 2 years. Is that fair? I wouldn't say it's unfair, but I think we could be pushing towards 70 to 80. If he has 1 year left in his contract, then things get a bit more difficult. But we kind of spoke about it already, but I don't think it's
think about this.
5 is still
when Mark Cucurella went to Chelsea, he went for 60 million in the final year, and he only had 1 year left on his contract.
And Mark Guehi is a very good footballer. I forget about the money. He's a very good footballer. I still stand on this hill that Guehi is our best defender when fit. He's better than Anderson. I don't care how good Anderson played. I think he's better than Anderson. He's a better,
and he's younger because there's nothing that Anderson really can't do.
There's so many taxes involved. So
there's nothing that Anderson can do that Mark Guehi really can't. In a lot of ways, and he's younger. You know what I mean? So
I think since both of them joined the club, I think Guehi has been a better defender. Anderson's had his spells, very good spells, but I think
he's been the more. I feel like he's been the more consistent one.
Yeah, exactly. So Guehi's a fantastic player. So whoever gets him after Palace, they're going to love him because he's an unreal talent. But look, he's going to be going to the Euros, so a lot of teams, of course, European teams will be watching England. So let's see what happens. But look, people, that's it for today. If you have enjoyed this, make sure to hit the like button. Let's try to get over 200 likes for those who are watching and replay as well. And if you're, interested in a conversation, couldn't join us live, let us know by leaving down your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thanks to every single one of you that sent in your question, that's got involved in the live chat. this evening. Of course, we are here for all the latest Palace stuff. So if there is anything, we will be here as we've been doing since the season's ended. So thanks to every single one of you. That's it from me and T. And until next time, up the Palace.